Nikkei Asia News Roundup with Jada and Brian. Welcome to the Nikkei Asia News Roundup, where we bring you the latest updates and insights on the dynamic world of Asia and more. I am your host, Brian, and for today's episode, we have a special guest.
Hi, I'm Lisa Kim, Nikkei Asia's Chief Markets Correspondent, filling in for Jada. Thanks for having me here.
Are you ready to delve into the headlines?
Let's do it.
This program is brought to you by Nikkei. Major asset management players in Japan are planning to develop the country's first investment trusts that incorporate cryptocurrencies, as the top financial regulator here weighs allowing such funds.
Cambodia's cassava farmers and traders are dealing with a slump in prices, which has intensified after Cambodia and Thailand froze trade. Cassava is Cambodia's largest agricultural product. Before the border conflict, Thailand bought more than a third of Cambodia's cassavas.
The death of a 26-year-old man who was employed at a popular bakery and cafe chain has reignited debate over South Korea's deep-rooted culture of overtime work, as grueling schedules expose the limits of the country's 52-hour workweek cap to protect service sector employees.
Hong Kong's Hutchison Ports is investing heavily in a major port in Mexico's west coast. This is seen as a symbol of China's rapidly growing influence in Latin America.
China's electric vehicle price war looks set to spill across borders, with many car makers at the recently held Guangzhou Motor Show unveiling models under 150,000 yuan, or $21,000, and planning to take those models overseas soon.
The Tokyo metropolitan government is considering introducing a 3% accommodation tax on hotel stays, according to a Nikkei report. The fee is intended to raise revenue from a growing number of luxury foreign-owned hotels. Now moving on to the next segment.
Philippine conglomerates cash in on huge gaps in public health care. Two of the Philippines' biggest conglomerates, Ayala Corp and Metro Pacific Investments Corp, or MPIC, have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in the country's healthcare sector, cashing in on huge gaps in the country's public healthcare system as they transform fragmented, family-run hospitals and other facilities into professionally managed, vertically integrated networks. Under the 2019 Universal Health Care Act, all Filipinos are enrolled in the National Health Insurance Program, which aims to provide a full range of both preventative and treatment services. But the number of hospital beds per 10,000 Filipinos stands at just 9, a level comparable to the poorest countries in the world, and sharply contrasts with regional peers like Vietnam at 31 and Singapore at 28. The shortage of services means many people feel compelled to seek private treatment, resulting in high so-called out-of-pocket expenses because state-run health insurer PhilHealth only covers a fraction of these costs based on predetermined payments for each service. World Bank data shows Filipino households still shoulder around 44.4% of their total healthcare costs, a figure that remains among the highest in the region. But it also provides a business opportunity for the likes of MPIC and Ayala, which recognize the convergence of rising middle-class disposable incomes and the implementation of the UHC Act as a guaranteed revenue stream.
AI will drive legal finance demand, Burford CEO says. Litigation funder Burford Capital expects AI to boost the demand for legal finance as the advanced technology expands people's digital footprints around the world. Burford is the world's largest player in litigation and arbitration finance. As a third party, Burford provides businesses and law firms capital to pay for commercial litigation and arbitration. Burford operates globally in the US, Europe, and Singapore. Its investment portfolio reaches around $8 billion. Burford CEO Christopher Bogart spoke with Nikkei Asia. He said, quote, even if you're just an average user of technology, your digital footprint is enormous now, quote. He went on to say, quote, what we can do is run a whole lot of pattern analysis to see if there's conduct that you're engaged in that would be suspicious, quote. Although current AI litigation is largely copyright related, he said, quote, the collateral effect of AI, I think, is that it will likely drive incremental litigation volume elsewhere, quote.
And now for news highlights. In this episode, Lisa and I have a discussion about a recent article that has particularly captured our attention.
Today we're going to talk about high fashion brands introducing cafes in Singapore in a bid to lure consumers to visit and spend more time at the stores. Half a dozen luxury brands have opened cafes in the city-state over the past few years, ranging from Prada, Ralph Lauren to AP. The market size of global luxury brands dropped last year for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic and the 2008 financial crisis. What do you think, Brian?
That was a lot to go through that you just introduced. For me, this story at first didn't interest me because I'm not interested that much in luxury brand cafes. But that's a me problem, I think, because this is a situation where people who like fashion brands, high luxury brands, and by the way, AP also for watch heads out there is Audemars Piguet, which they make some very high-end watches. But they're all opening cafes, and they're all trying to get more customers in who are not necessarily the people who are going to buy $3,000 or $5,000 handbags or $20,000 white oak, is it Royal Oak watches? That's the famous AP watch. But they're coming into the cafes, which will be higher end than Starbucks or other similar brands. But that's the point, is to get more people in there, to get the brand build up. And also people want to go there to be associated with the brand. And they're finding that Singapore is a good, as one person put it, a good testing ground. Because it's, as the quote went, it's there. It's a good place because it's already sort of, the luxury is not only there, like it's already as well established, it's also a good central point for all this to happen. So, and one of the interesting parts was that, well, why not South Korea or why not Japan or why not China? And they said the insights from Singapore are more transferable than those places because
I see. That makes sense.
Yeah, because like in Japan or China, it's more cultural specific. So if you crack the code there, you've only cracked the code there
For that market.
Yeah. But in Singapore, all these brands, I mean, you mentioned some of the brands, they're like Coach, Louis Vuitton, Dolce & Gabbana, Prada, Ralph Lauren, and there's also a couple of, I think they said something about like previously there's also Audi, Porsche, and Leica, the high-end camera brand, are also doing these kind of things. And it makes me wonder about, is there that much crossover between people who want a $10 coffee and people who want a sports car?
Well, I guess the thing is they want the public to be familiar with their brands. So the whole thing is, and I also understand people who go to these cafes. I personally am not a huge fan of these sorts of cafes. But I can see how if you want to be associated with luxury and you want a piece of luxury, but you don't have quite the financial resources yet to buy a Porsche or get a Prada bag, you could kind of satiate that need with a $10 coffee, like a little treat for yourself. And I think the brands are thinking, hopefully these folks would one day become customers.
That's a good point, because I'm thinking, going by myself, that wouldn't be that interesting. But going with friends, that could be a bit of an adventure.
And also you do it for the gram.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because when I saw the Prada one listed there and how Japan doesn't transfer as well, but there is I believe in Omotesando, which I like to call the Rodeo Drive of Tokyo, there is a Prada building that has a Prada cafe.
There's also the Ralph Lauren cafe.
Yeah, in this Prada building, I think many years ago I went there or I walked by it. But it's known for having a Prada cafe and being the Prada building, but it's most famous for its architecture. It's this maybe 3 or 4 story tall glass building that looks like, I like to equate it, it looks like a bunch of giant drunk bees built a honeycomb made of triangles of glass instead. It's interesting. It's an interesting piece of architecture, but that gets the brand name out there as well.
Yeah, so I guess from a consumer's perspective, you're going for the luxury experience, and it's kind of, I guess, like a cultural experience too. You get to see the cool architecture and have a cup of coffee in a luxury, what do you call it, cup? Or
yeah, and this transfers. That's the other angle of it, is the economic situation where luxury brands, you mentioned in your opening there, that they had a slump naturally because of the housing crisis
in China
in 2008. Well, that too. There's the one from 2008, and now there's the more recent one in China. And there was the slump from the COVID pandemic.
Right.
But luxury brands were doing really well just a few years ago. And they saw record years, but now they are down a little bit, like LMVH, which is the parent company of Louis Vuitton and Hermes. They've been down 15% in Asia this year, or last year. And the owner of Gucci and Yves Saint Laurent and Balenciaga is down 22%.
Wow.
But Prada's up a little bit, and Hermes is, not Hermes, yeah. Sorry, I got my notes a little jumbled here, but the point was that most of them are going down this year a little bit, and people are kind of worried that this is a trend that's starting to build up in the downward tumble. And so these cafes might be a way to
get the hype going.
To get the hype going. That's a good way of putting it. That brings us to the end of this episode.
We look forward to having you join us next time.
Stay informed, stay curious. Until next time, I'm Brian.
And I'm Lisa. This program is brought to you by Nikkei.